Good morning, everybody. It's me, Teri Hunter. It is about 11:59. Wasn't sure if I would get in right away, so we're a little early. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to Sunday mornings, Traversing the Transits with Teri Hunter. This is where we look at the coming week's astrological transits, and then I do readings for each sign by your rising sign. This is based on whole sign Western astrology. I think that works best for when we're talking to large groups of people. When I look at an individual chart, I'm preferring Placidus these days because the house structure and the degrees give me a lot of detail about the soul's intention for this lifetime. So I want to welcome everybody. Good morning, CC Pups. Good morning, Small Wildflowers. I want to thank everybody for your continued support of the channel. I've been working through my own personal transits. Saturn is hanging on my Chiron, and I've got the nodes. The south node is sitting on my Mercury forever. It feels like it's been at 13 degrees for 100 years. I'm a little ready for that to move along. But as it is, in my meditations when I've been talking to Spirit about what are these transits doing? You know, I feel like my whole life has been full of squares and conjunctions to hard planets as they transit. And each one of these gives us an opportunity to exercise our own evolution, to see it in action, to see ourselves at that fork in the road where we can make an old imprinted choice or we can make an evolved choice. Spirit never said that choices would be easy, but they do get easier with repetition. So I am continuing to do a lot of meditation. Been sort of calling that my lifeline right now. And as I say that, I'm going to segue into Neptune right now. Neptune will go direct this coming week on the 4th. And yet at the same time, Neptune has been stationing at 22 degrees for, I feel like it's been months. And I don't have any direct personal issues with Neptune at 22 degrees. I don't really have anything making an angle. And at the same time, my south node is at the very first degrees of Aries. So what's happened is as Jupiter has been going retrograde and then having another conversation with Neptune, and then I've been watching the south node on my Mercury change a lot of my mercurial relationships. I've been asking myself, am I going to focus in on loss, or is this an opportunity for me to exercise the vibration I've been reaching for, the frequency that I want to live on? And if for some reason that shift to that frequency erupts or disrupts other situations, am I going to focus on the other situation, which really might have had holes or had things about it that didn't work? So this is where I'm going on, because Neptune is going to go direct, but it's going to stay at the 22 degrees until January 8th, 2023. So it's going to continue on through through Pisces for a while. But I really believe that this is asking us, are we going to escape? Are we going to hide? Are we going to mask? Or are we going to rewrite our beliefs and then channel them into something beautiful, something creative, something that makes us feel elevated and gives sense and meaning to the disruptions? Valerie, that's my next note, is that the nodes have been squaring the fixed signs or opposing, as the case may be. And it has been very hard, I think, for people, because in that, with the south node being in Scorpio, there's that deep psychological element going on, right? What do you really believe versus what is the talk you say you believe? But then, that monkey mind creeps in. Then we have the idea that Uranus and the north node have been hanging out. Of course, wanting liberation, but also the anxiety that that making a deliberate change that goes against the tide. We have to remember that Uranus rules exile, and it also rules genius. It rules our hopes and our dreams, and yet it rules the masses, and on some level, our vulnerability to those masses and to their opinions of us. So this has really been, I don't know. This is the only lifetime I'm aware that I've lived right now, but I feel like this particular lifetime is so challenging because the idea of survival in past human history would actually supersede the emotional spiritual dynamic. Like, I got to survive, so I got to do this. I got to get out and plow the fields. I can't be bothered to think about it, whether I like it or not. Now, the human evolution has taken us to a place where whether we like it or not is getting right in our face, which is the Saturn-Uranus square. And I think that that's anxiety producing sometimes, because we may make a shift that will alienate us from others versus having them embrace us. So now I'm going to segue into Saturn. Saturn's at 19 degrees Aquarius right now. Moving forward, it is this week going to be making a trine to Mercury in Sagittarius, and it's going to be squaring Uranus at 16 degrees, and it's going to be making a trine to Mars in Gemini. So I think the big conversation this week is Saturn, and Saturn falling onto my history. Saturn saying, are you willing to do the hard work to create your own happiness? This last week was Thanksgiving week here in the United States. I did some shorts on Monday, and then I didn't produce anything on my channel. And I watched my subscribership drop. And I feel like I'm going with this weird flow and ebb of value as I watch statistics tell me what I'm doing, how much time I've spent on social media, how much time I've spent on productive media. And in all of my meditations, I feel like Spirit is saying, turn away from that. Go back to what was your original intention for the endeavors you're making? And this is where I think we get into the Mercury, Venus, and the Sun as well, being in Sagittarius and traversing this sign, giving us an opportunity to really think about our deep beliefs and where we find our value. And is our value really predicated on somebody else's opinion, their way of being with us? Because I think that's the big theme we've watched. The Saturn-Uranus square has produced so much interesting experiences for me in my 11th house area. The algorithm is brutal. Life is brutal right now. Mars is brutal. I can't think about that poor woman who went on vacation to Mexico with her friends, and then they beat the crap out of her and killed her. I'm sure they didn't mean to kill her initially, but like, the world right now feels so over the top that the swirl of it feels a very vulnerable thing. And that starts with anxiety. So what I want to offer, because next week we're going to have a Gemini full moon, and that Gemini full moon is going to be conjunct the Mars retrograde. So I've been thinking about this week, how can I swim through these transits and be aware of them, and at the same time not give into them, not give into wanting to express my opinion, which I know will be argumentative, or to express my hurt. I don't want to say anything negative, but the fixed signs, they're fixed. So sometimes when you try to go into a fixed sign and then have them see your mutable energy, they can't do that. So now it's about deciphering whether or not my conversation would be constructive, or whether it would be kicking in the laws of attraction that would just bring more frustration to me. That's where I'm going with this. And I feel like we just get to be a little bit smart about that these days, because if we start to practice turning away from what feels inflammatory or disruptive, then we will also start to kick in a new vibration that allows us to recalibrate. You know, if you stop on a dime, you're going to end over the handlebars. So we want to unwind this, because I think that the Mercury retrograde coming up at the end of November, taking us into the new year, is sort of this opportunity to really review our everyday lives, the people we're spending time with, what we've been learning about our Gemini communities as Mars has gone retrograde. I think will start to be implemented in the new year. And I think those of us that are intending to live a conscious life will start to look at the ebb and the flow. When there's an ebb and we feel that disruptive sort of stuck energy, where's the imprint, and where am I inadvertently and maybe even unconsciously following a pattern that I didn't realize I have? I'm a Libra sun, and I never really think of myself as a people pleaser. But you know what? There's a lot of me that when I create a relationship, I want to be valuable and I want to contribute to the higher vibration of a person. And I can look at that sometimes as altruistic and a beautiful intention. And I can also see how I tether my value to someone else's outcome, which I have no power over. So this is something that's been illuminated for me as Saturn sits on my Chiron. You know, Chiron being the wound and the gift. And I was thinking about, this is a generational aspect. We know that Chiron is now transiting Aries. So a lot of the people born around 74, 75, I'm just saying this off the top of my head, could be 75, 76, the years, are experiencing or those of you that are turning 50 are experiencing your Chiron return. And I just feel like this is really that, am I gonna continue to look and focus on the wound, or am I gonna transform it? And I don't think it's an easy job, because I don't think the transformation of the wound alleviates the pain of the wound. It just presents a consciousness and a choice that we are continually being asked to move towards. So, all right. So happy birthday, Sagittarius, and all of those having celebratory times this week. I want to welcome you to my channel. If you're new here, I am going to start with Sagittarius, and I'm going to work my way around the zodiac. I've been calling them all sorts of things, but I think I'm defaulting to AngelScopes, because this is the angel's advice for traversing the transits. It's like the angels giving us sort of this intention to set as we go through an astrological weather storm or period of time. We have our heat waves and we have our ice storms, and I think that's very much what happens. And I don't think there's any generation that has some sort of comfort or ease. I think they all present their own opportunities for awareness. So welcome, everybody. Hello, Catherine. Hello, Scarred Owl. Flamingo 2. Welcome, Small Wildflowers. It's good to see you. Jay Sean, Michelle, good to see you. Lauren K, Valerie, everybody, and those I didn't say hi to, welcome to the room. Let's jump into our readings. Okay, Sagittarius, your tarot card is the Strength card. This is a very, very powerful energy. The major arcana of the tarot is the Fool's journey through the human experience. And when he reaches strength, he's reaching fortitude. It's the place where you have the gentleness of self as you are taming the beast within. This woman is not giving a hard hand. She's actually showing trust in something that could be scary, right? That line could be very scary. So here I could focus on the idea that this is Leo energy, but I want to pull it back even deeper to Leo's energy is courage of the heart. And is the heart about just what you want, or is it also about the recognition of the heart of others and recognizing that sometimes, and I want to say this for Sagittarius, recognizing the heart of another may not be being mutable into their heart, but just allowing for the difference and the diversity, which Sagittarius is so good at. And I want to offer it this way, because this may be not you having to accept the diversity, but in the relationship with another, giving them space to recalibrate their point of view. I don't know if it's actually relationship related or work related. Let's look and see what area of life that spirit is asking you to continue to move forward, and not in a way that is an action oriented forward, a physical action, but first recalibrating a tameness within yourself, a grace for yourself, a space where if you're feeling frustrated, does that mean that particular energy has to be the baseline moving forward? Or is that frustration spirit's signal to back up and wait for an inspired action? That's what the heart will do. So Sagittarius, let's see what the angels want to say about this. Because again, the major arcana represent the really powerful energies that the Fool traverses through the journey. And the hero's journey is a journey of self-awareness that then lets the Fool know that he is a powerful co-creator within his own experience. And when we go into the minor arcana, we're seeing more of the minutia and the detail of where that's coming from. So this is a really powerful energy for Sagittarius right now, because you also have Venus and Mercury and the Sun moving through your sign. So there may be a certain clarity you have within, and then you get to allow somewhere on the outside world to catch up with you. Our first angel is Adriana. You're being led to the answers to your prayers. The second is Shanti. The third is Francesca. And the final is Sonia. So Adriana talks about being led through your intuitions, through your meditations, through those subtle urgings of things. The other day, I went to my local taco place, and it was almost dark, which is pretty early, like 4:30 these days. And I noticed a Seahawk that had flown up on the light fixture, the street lamp above, and nobody else noticed it but me. And by the time I actually got my order, the light had come on, and the brightness of the light had masked that bird. And I couldn't help in my mind's eye but think about what the Seahawk represents, because it masters the air element of thought, and then it fishes and eats and gets nourishment from the ocean. It is only a fish-eating bird. So there's this sight into the emotion, and there was this weird feeling of this being a signal for me, as nobody else paid attention. And as that light blinded the bird's physical appearance, I still knew it was there. I could still feel it. So Adriana's being joined by the spider, Sagittarius. Shanti's being joined by the fear card. Francesca's being joined by the love card. And Sonia's being joined by the high priestess. I think that this is a week where you may very much not see any particular action. And I mean this in such a way where this doesn't, there could be potentials in the physical experience. Maybe Saturn is making some sort of aspect. We talked about Saturn squaring Uranus and making a sextile to Mercury in Sagittarius. So while that's a cooperative energy, and it'll also at some point, I think Venus will move into that sextile with Saturn. So there could be a potential of there slowing down in order to review something in a way that allows you to move forward more fearlessly, because Adriana is leading you to the answers to your prayers, and the spider is about relationships within the network, relationships within your personal network. And I believe that there's the potential that I want to offer it this way, because it doesn't feel like it's about intimate relationships. It feels like it's something different than that. And it's about a bigger version of what you want to experience moving forward, because Shanti offers a journey of peace and tranquility, and fear is often something that the human just straight up wants to run away from. But actually, fear is where we feel our empowerment, because here we see Francesca saying, what are you going to visualize? And then we have the love card. So what we have is this opportunity for Sagittarius to use the transits this week to dig deep into your beliefs about, are you operating on love and faith in your ability to co-create? Or are you letting your peace be disrupted by scenarios, moving yourself down the line where you do not win? Because this is to me, Sonia represents my team of guides and angels that love and care for me and that are watching over me. And then the High Priestess is very much urging me to go back to basics, connect with my inner being, to sit in meditation, to actually connect with my network of guides and angels, and then express to them that I am feeling potentially lack in my gentility with myself. I'm having trouble continuing to have faith and strength because I'm feeling challenged. And I want to offer it this way. This particular period of time for me feels like the head of a zit in some ways. It almost feels like as I persevere through this particular period of unknowing, I inadvertently create an experience for myself that is of such a vibration that it's shocking to others in its benefit. And this is where the ninth house in Sagittarius becomes deeply rooted in that connection to spirit, and knowing that when I spend time imagining it, or I spend time, focused on the higher vibrations of what I want to experience, it feels easy. It feels exciting. I feel energized. And you can put those words attached to any human experience. And as you focus on that, you start to create opportunities for spirit to give you signs and omens that take this to the next level. Okay, let's go on to our Capricorns, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Good morning, Lucy. It's good to see you. I think I need to get, that's Lizzie. I'm sorry. Good morning, Lizzie. I thought that was Lucy in the room. I think I'm going to need to get some new glasses. This last birthday was an interesting one. I'm feeling my seasoned on the planet stuff here going on. All right. Capricorn, there is the Page of Pentacles. This is traditionally a very earth card. It's very much Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. And it's the beginning of I don't want to say money. It feels as if it's the beginning of seeing a transformation in your resources, your material resources, versus just you having to create your resources. Sometimes, in my experience, I have needed certain things, and spirit has brought them unbeknownst to me into my experience in a very helpful way. I can't help but thinking, like, one time my car battery died, and it died within my in my parking space. And I felt so grateful that my dad had made me get a AAA card because the car was new. And I'm like, nothing will happen to the car yet. I'm kind of not good with my admin of everyday life. Anyway, the whole thing was, like, on some level a pain in the patoot. And at the same time, it all worked out very easy. So I feel like there's something about the page infusing some energy of new ease for Capricorn, versus feel in the material world, versus feeling like you have to make everything happen. Let's look and see where this is going. Our first angel is Adriana again. The second is Opal. The third is Omega. And the final is Archangel Raphael. Adriana's being joined by the butterfly. Opal's being joined by the joy card. Omega's being joined by the wind fairy. And Archangel Raphael is being joined by the love card. It's interesting to me because when I look at this and I see the dog at the end here, sometimes I think that that's just about love from another person, like an intimate love. And I don't know that I agree with that in this particular reading. I think Capricorn, as Pluto has been transiting your house since 2008, it's really offered you the transformation of the butterfly. And as we go into these last few degrees of Capricorn before next year, when Pluto moves in and dips its toe into Aquarius, this is really an opportunity to start to allow yourself to adopt that baby goat energy, to allow yourself to be more grounded and bring your spiritual connection to the other side, to your inner being, to the idea that you are more than your physical body. And now, as you anchor that into the material world, I believe there's a transformation being offered to you that gives you this feeling of joy. I'm on Capricorn right now. I've moved on to Capricorn. I just did Sagittarius. This joy card to me is an understanding of the divine disruption that Spirit offers us sometimes when we have gotten into a loop of thought. And one of the biggest elements of the Saturnian energy is the idea of working at something because it's expected of us versus something that we find joyful. And I think that's a big human error. And I think it's come through generation after generation of having to go through survival. And now we're at a place through technology and through evolution that lets us address something from a different place. Is my spirit being served? Is my emotional body being fed? Because as you adopt more joy, and that joy comes from understanding that if you're in a disruptive place, God and the angels could be walking you through an experience that's breaking an old pattern or imprint, and that would be of thought. I must do this in order for this to happen. There's the victory of Omega in the angel's advice, and this is victory over the mind, but I don't think it's like a squelching of challenging thoughts or of doubt or of fear, but rather when those thoughts come in, what is my real story? I've talked a lot over this last summer about being triggered through various transits and feeling my Taurus moon, asking myself, am I really able to take care of myself as I age? Am I able to have the material resources I will need? Because I haven't prepared well, because I don't like preparing for a bad thing to happen. It feels counterintuitive. So as I have allowed those thoughts to be like, okay, I've had a scary thought or I've had a challenging thought. And then I'm like, what Spirit, what is the next best way to go? How do I go from frustration? How do I go from anger? And then I hear go broad. How will it feel when things are rectified? It'll feel easy. That's a real word that comes to me. It'll feel easy. Saturn being on my Chiron for so long, and Pluto squaring my sun, squaring my ascendant, squaring my Mars, my awareness of it on the top of everything, it's like holding my breath. When is it going to end? I can't walk through that like that. So this is where I become victorious. It's like, okay, so I decide to be alive during this transit. I decided I was going to be aware of my thoughts and become victorious over them. And the victory doesn't come from squelching the negative thoughts. It comes from going back to God and the angels and thanking them for helping me to see the good things, the joy in my life, to feel appreciation. Because here, this dog now doesn't feel like it's about love from another. It feels like it's about understanding that the human experience is by nature fraught with obstacles on its path. There is no path of ease. You may have money ease, but then the emotional challenges come up. So now what happens is I am healed through the epiphany that as long as I am loyal to the truth of who I am. And that's what's been going on for Capricorn, because Capricorn is a builder. Capricorn is a leader. Capricorn rules a certain amount of structure that feels good when it's not oppressive. So that's why I feel like this is so important for you. And this is why you're going to start to see this anchored in your material world. Pages are always about a youthful energy, and in some ways a hopeful energy. They haven't quite been jaded by life's experience, and they're not chasing anything. They're kind of like little kids figuring it out. You put a toy in front of them and they try to figure it out. So that's what I think is going on. Be loyal to your journey. Be loyal to yourself, Capricorn. I think this is super powerful because what we're going to see coming up, Mercury is going to go retrograde, but when it does, it's going to be in Capricorn, and Venus is going to be up there, and Pluto, and they're all going to be kind of hanging out for a little while. So there's really going to be this review of your self-worth, of your money, of your job, how you think about it, of how you're working with your siblings, your teammates, your workmates, and all of that's going to come up. So your ability to prepare yourself now with your new set of standards for your own happiness and your connection to spirit to walk through these with more ease than you may have in the past, so you can represent leadership to others. Wow, that used to get you really upset. Well, you know what? I don't have time to be upset about that anymore. Okay, let's go on to our Aquariuses, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Welcome, welcome, everybody who's come into the room. Thank you for joining us today. We are plugging along, even if I feel like I'm wearing cement stilettos today. Aquarius moon. Yeah, I believe the moon is the most important sign to look at, really. And then the rising. They're kind of on a par for me, but being an emotional human, I know that if I feel emotionally unsettled, it's very difficult for me to manifest. So I think those two things are really important to pay attention to. So let's look at our Aquarius rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. There is the Six of Pentacles. This is a have or a have not card. This is actually interesting because it does need other cards to identify where it sits, but I want to offer it as a perception. Aquarius by nature it represents genius. You know, it represents really the higher octave of Mercury. It's innovative thought that's outside the human box, and it can be very alienating. It can feel very, I'm so different that I have trouble relating on one-to-one a little bit. Now, I want to offer it this way because I don't think every Aquarius moon or Aquarius has trouble relating, but I want to offer it now to yourself. Do you view yourself as a have or a have not? Saturn has been going through Aquarius for a while now, and it was retrograde. And those of you born in the middle section of Aquarius, have really been feeling it. Let's look at this. Went forward. It went all the way to, I don't know, 22, 23 degrees. I can't quite remember. Then it retrograded back. I believe my Chiron's at 22 degrees Aquarius. So I know it went back this way. It went all the way to 18 degrees and then it went this way. So this wound, this feeling of having being stoked, this sort of like this kind of panicky feeling. I feel as if I want to honor that for you, Aquarius. But now let's see, where do you want to default? And meaning this, where is the new default? This Saturn is making aspects to Mercury this week. Uranus is squaring. It's making a sextile to Mercury, and then it will make a sextile to Venus. And then we have it trining Mars. And I think that Saturn and Mars have become more cooperative as the human has evolved. Saturn asking Mars to slow down and be strategic in its warrior behavior. Being a smart general, being a smart a military person, or being a smart, brave, courageous person versus just charging into a situation, which is what I think a lot of the retrograde in the sign of my thoughts, in the sign of how I interact with my teammates, my workmates, in my neighborhood. All of this is up for review. So Aquarius, let's look and see where the have and the have not comes in. I'm so over I keep saying to Saturn, I'm literally talking to these planets like they're friends. And I'm like, look, dude, I totally am your champion. Why are you working me over so bad? And, it's kind of funny because Saturn says, I'm not working you over. Saturn says, you're just tenacious in your old way of being. And I'm like, I'm not. Yes, you are. I'm not. Yes, you are. I feel like a crazy person. Okay. Aquarius, Archangel Gabriel, the angel of communication, the angel of being secure within your communications, is first up for Aquarius. The second is Archangel Michael. the third is Isabella, and the final is Ariel. So Aquarius moon, Saturn going back and forth. And even if it's not like right on the moon, on your moon the whole time, the conversation's happening in the house. So I feel as if this is really going to come down to, where are you going to fall in, are you a have or are you have not? Because I think this is going to start to be where you rewrite for yourself in an innovative way. You know what? Everybody around me may not understand what I'm doing or understand the way I think or understand how I process and manifest, but that's okay, because they will soon be inspired by what I do. They will see a difference. So the Grail Knight is joining Archangel Gabriel in the foundational position. The partnership card is joining Archangel Michael. Isabella is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. And Ariel is being joined by the Serpent. Archangel Gabriel and the Grail Knight together feel like very much this is a seeking the sacred at a deep level of what is important to you. And I feel as if when I look at that have and that have not card and the Six of Pentacles, I'm not sure that I really think this is about finances and money as much as it's about feeling seen and accepted, and feeling like I put in as much effort as everybody else. I do what this guy does. Why is he not looking at me? And then we see the scales of justice. And I feel like this represents the air element of, what are you focused on over here, buddy? Are you focused on, he won't look at me? Maybe he's about to turn his head. Maybe this guy's about to turn around and throw some dough your way. So here we go. Aquarius, this is really about going down deep and seeking the sacred of your own thought process, of what your own pattern is. When I get super scared, I listen to Abraham a lot, Abraham Hicks. This is, if you're not familiar, it's the original Secret. It is all about the laws of the universe. And I use that as a way to anchor myself, because I have an imprint, a certain way of perceiving things. And whether it's true or not is irrelevant. It creates a vibration. And I was listening to Abraham the other day, and Esther said something about, why do people get hooked into that negative supposed thought? And it's because they want to, they feel right. They feel as if they're right. And why do they feel frustrated about being right? Because they don't feel seen. They're not validated. This is where I'm going with this. I think this is about Aquarius starting to think, you know what? Maybe I'm invalidating myself. Maybe in looking outside myself for somebody to bestow whatever this material dynamic is, a favor, a friendship, a something, if I'm looking outside of myself for someone to show their value to me, I could be on a slippery slope. Because when I look at the partnership card, I think that this is Archangel Michael saying, Aquarius, are you in partnership with your own transformation? Are you in partnership? This is the courage to make the divine life changes that you want. And, sometimes we'll say, well, I can't do this because he won't do that. Or I can't do this because this isn't happening. I don't know that that really is what is blocking. It could very much be that this is about, recalibrating your thoughts and seeking down to the sacred part of, do you feel worthy? Do you feel the universe will support your endeavors? Because yes, the timing is right, Isabella says, for you to hold on to your truth and hold on to it with ease as you walk through a bit of an emotional storm, as you transform into a different version of yourself. You'll always be yourself, but there'll be brighter colors on certain parts of you, and other colors will dim down, because Ariel says new experiences with your spiritual nature will allow you to feel a certain sense of reconciliation, a healing, a shedding of the skin. And I think what this is, If I'm to put it in my own kind of terms, like think about Aquarius rules the internet. So Aquarius rules YouTube. It rules, the platforms with which we put our personal opinion about. And then we look outside ourselves for other people to validate that. How many likes did I get? How many people are in the room? This is something, as Chiron is being messed with in Aquarius by Saturn, I keep having to ask myself, am I here for your validation? Or am I here because this is what I believe and this is my passion and this is what I want to give to the world? If you agree or don't agree, that should be irrelevant. And that's where I'm digging deeper. So Aquarius, maybe there's a part of you that gets to dig deeper into your motivations. Are you inadvertently looking for somebody to validate you or to give you a leg up? And maybe if that person or that validation came in, it wouldn't be as powerful as the self-validation, as the courage to say to spirit, I'm stuck in this human body right now, and I feel like I need validation from other humans and I'm not getting it. So please give me an experience that helps me feel like what I'm producing or who I'm being or how I'm showing up in the world has value and that I will benefit from it. I think this is a big question we're all asking ourselves right now. I think there are things that have come up around the world, political things and people's viewpoints that are sitting out there floating in the world, not to dominate us, not to oppress us, which they possibly can, but to, in some ways, liberate us as we look at, like, how am I going to perceive this? The South Node is at 13 degrees Scorpio. And I'm bringing this up because 13 is the Aries degree, and it's on my Mercury, which is my community, my thoughts, my community is my work, my everyday life. Mercury rules life and it rules service. And as I've watched like weird things happen, we've seen them here in this community, people disappear, people saying funky things and changing a dynamic. And I feel like all of this is giving me an opportunity to process this. How am I going to think about this? Because if I go and I even validate myself, Scorpio, power and control is one of the challenging dynamics of Scorpio, is that South Node and the idea that it's all erosive. There's always loss attached to it. There's always something, what we deem negative about it. But it's not. It's a very spiritual point. It's the point that we look at. All the children being born right now with the South Node in Scorpio, that's going to be our point of reference for their past life. So there's something very strong about this, at least for me, representing a shifting in my thoughts. Am I going into an old story? Because Aquarius, you may be going into that story because you do feel different and you have felt different. And part of that is genius. And part of that is being not of this earth like most humans are, and then embracing it and standing in the leadership that you represent. And I also want to offer this because the fixed signs to me, in a human way, they become very belligerent. No, I'm not doing this. But in a higher vibrational way, they become leadership. You may not understand my intentions or my moves right now, but soon you will see why I've chosen this pathway. So I think this is an important way for all the fixed signs to look at themselves. Am I being difficult because I don't want to shift, or am I being difficult because I'm holding space for a place that others have yet to be able to see with their heart? That's where I'm going with this. All right, let's go on to our Pisces, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. All right, our tarot card for Pisces is the Four of Wands. This is a lovely energy. This is a energy of home and hearth and celebration and of joy. And, it's interesting to me because a lot of the joyous cards in the deck have a lot of the lower chakra colors, the base chakras, orange, yellow, red. And so there's something very powerful about that for me, because there's something about it that's making me feel as if Look, this character, these two characters, one is wearing a purpley blue robe and one is wearing a red robe. And the celebration feels as if I'm looking at my third eye, my throat chakra, my higher vibrational chakras have come together with here in the material experience. And this is why the soul incarnates here. You know, the biggest lie I think of the human experiences is that we come here for lessons, that we come here to be taught something. I think the soul comes here to remember how powerful it is, and then to use that power to create magic through aligned thoughts. And aligned thoughts kick in the law of attraction. The law of attraction then calls the human to allow the experiences to come through. And the demonstration of that allowing are sometimes leaps of faith. And what does Pisces represent? Faith, compassion, grace. Let's see what's going on here, what this Four of Wands is offering you, because I think this may be an opportunity to integrate two different things. And in doing so, there feels like there's more bounty. Jupiter is now gone direct. It's about 28, 29. I think it's still at 29 degrees. I'm sorry, 28 degrees. And then it's going to move into Aries pretty soon. And as it does, there's this expansion of kind of two things. One is, let me just go have a drink and forget all my problems. And the other is to dig deeper into how does this want to empower me? How do I want to feel more vital as a result of all of this? My screen feels like it's going dark. Okay, hold on. I think that's the real revolution that's going on right now, the Saturn-Uranus square. Okay, we have Sonia representing our team on the other side that watches over us. Francesca saying to Pisces, are you going to focus on the challenging part, or are you going to focus on what's working? We have Isaiah saying it's time to give life to new ideas and new situations. And then we have Merlina. Okay, so this looks like right now, this is going to be starting of a process for you, a process of identifying where you are vacillating between the human experience and the spiritual or the out-of-body or the ethereal experience. Sonia is being joined by the restriction card. Francesca is being joined by the raven. Isaiah is being joined by the stag. And Merlina's being joined by the disruption card. All right, so we see that Neptune, your ruling planet, and your ancient ruler have been kind of hanging out together. They got pretty close to each other within 4 or 5 degrees. And I can't help but think of, because Jupiter is so big that the conjunctions it makes, you can even have a wider orb because it takes up so much more space. So this is where I'm going with this, because I feel as if this is an offering for Pisces. This is an offering of more happiness, more celebration, feeling more connected to the things on this earth that you want to experience. But part of it is recalibrating now, because if you have inadvertently been giving up your power to another, if you have been overly compassionate to another person's problems, where we're actually giving life to their problems versus the solutions, there's a certain amount of a pause being asked. Spirit is literally saying to Pisces, this is a good week for meditation for you. This is a good week to go into dance, poetry, photography, creativity. And if you need to escape, that's the way to go, versus escaping through drugs, alcohol, sex, or something that involves some commingling of an energy with a vibration that isn't actually where you want to sit. Because Francesca is saying, what do you visualize right now? And then there's the raven, and the raven is about, like, when I look at it, it's a very magical energy. The raven can be considered a little scary sometimes. The loudness of its crow, or its craw, however you want to say it. But the raven here is announcing something. You've picked the bones of whatever it is, Pisces. And now it's your opportunity to fly off this thing. Because here Isaiah is offering an opportunity for a new beginning. And this is an opportunity for you to design that new beginning. And the new beginning comes back to here. There's a marriage of spiritual and of physical. And for you to, in some ways, to look at if you have been acting as a supportive character in your own story. Because if you have not been, there is a potential that you're going to feel a bit of disruption and a bit of confusion. We know that as Neptune sits at 22 degrees, it's going to make a lot of squares with Mars. And Mars is still going retrograde, but as Mars goes forward again, it's going to make a square with Neptune when both planets are forward at 22 degrees. So I think this is an opportunity to prepare. I think this is an opportunity for Pisces to sit back and say, you know what, this is the kind of life I want to live. This is how I want to feel moving forward. I want to feel a sense of health and vitality within my physical body. And I want to feel a sense of clear communications with my team and my guides. And I want to stop getting in my own way. You know, I feel one of the challenges of Pisces is sometimes you give other people the benefit of the doubt that you don't even give yourself. And that could be a real problem because you should put yourself first. It's the best way to be able to help others. So this week, I think it's important for you to really examine as we see Pluto, as we see Neptune. I mean, it's slowing its roll, but the closer and closer it gets to the retrograde, the slower and slower and slower it moves. And spiritual shifting, the reason these outer planets move so slowly is because they're not just generational. It's hard for the human, once the human has been imprinted with certain experiences, it's hard not to default. It's a very difficult to pull the thoughts like on a dime to something more aligned to what you want to experience. And I think that sometimes creates a feeling of being defeated. So here, I think this is an opportunity. Slow down, give yourself, as we're walking into this new Gemini moon, or it's going to be a full moon, sorry, next week, slow your roll a little bit, give yourself a break, connect with spirit. And I want to offer this because I think for Pisces in particular, it's really good to get into your imagination, to let yourself, you know, if you can't imagine on your own, then watch a movie that depicts what you want. You know, somewhere let the escape or let the imagination be a declaration, you know, moving towards versus bracing. That's kind of the way I want to put it, because there's more. Mars is not done with its transit through our communities. So on some level, Mars is going to be very, you know, Mars is a polarizing energy because in its challenging energies, it acts before it thinks. And I think that you could be very, I don't know, you could feel a little bit of icky with that. That's the best way I can put it. A little bit of an icky. All right, guys, let's go on to our Aries, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Thank you, small wildflowers. You are on it today. We encourage everyone to kind of speak English in this forum because we cannot understand what is being said. And we kind of want to make sure everybody is on the same page. Okay. There we go. All right. Aries. Now, let's talk about Aries a little bit because we have Chiron that's been going through Aries. And, you know, it's so easy for the human to always go to the dark side. You know, what can go wrong will go wrong. No good deed goes unpunished and all that other nonsense. But I want to offer this because Chiron was a great philosopher. Chiron was a beautiful teacher. Chiron was an herbalist, and there's so many more beautiful energies about Chiron than the wound that he sustained upon his birth. And if I were to go back in those times, I would say, Chiron, your soul chose Saturn. And I think it's Lyra, I can't remember her name, the mother that he chose. And I feel like when we can kind of go in, and not in a way to hurt ourselves or to be like, oh, I brought all this on myself, but more about why did I pick this sort of disruptive energy to allow myself to move forward? To how did I want to identify myself? Because a wound, Chiron in Aries, is going to be a wound about the self. It's going to be a wound about how you feel perceived. I know I told you my Chiron's in Aquarius, but I'm an Aries rising, and a lot of people have called me hostile and angry and too much sometimes. I'm very sure-footed. I move forward very quickly. Even when I walk pretty fast. So sometimes I've not been aware in my Libra energy that others see me in a certain way. The reason I say all this is because now it's time for you to define you and to allow the higher vibrations of the Aries energy to sit at the top of the heap versus always being thrown under the bus as the angry warrior. Let's look at your tarot card. Well, this is beautiful. This is the Two of Wands. This is where you hold the world in your hands. And I think this is for Aries to take time to really start to be the master of your own domain, the captain to your own ship, and to start to allow yourself the privilege of rewriting your story. Don't let anybody tell you you're hostile. If you're being hostile, okay, own it. But I think there's a bigger story being told. And I want to offer this too, because if you have an Aries stellium, you could be really taking a hit right now because you could have Chiron hitting multiple planets. And as you're looking at this and you're determining, how is this going to show up? Because you got to look at the idea that it's not just Aries, it's also the house. So if I happen to have a rising sign, so I'm an Aries first house, but there are people that have Aries as their ninth house or Aries as their fourth house. So how are you showing up in the environment to produce the world you want to live? I feel as if this is a little bit about leadership for Aries. Being an Aries rising right now, I've told you guys I've experienced some things that I think are challenging. And there's a part of me that feels very right in my perception. And then there's the part of me that says, do I want to give life to being right in that perception anymore? Or do I just want to be happy? And in that happiness, could it be that my world is evolving and that in the midst of that evolution, those who do not see me for the truth of who I am, do they stay in my vibration or do they start to take a back seat? I think Aries is rewriting their world. And this is about being really, really brave. And I want to offer it this way because this particular wand feels as if there's a certain part of Aries that will be what it is. See how it's anchored into the cement? He doesn't even have to look at it. But here, he holds a shorter stick. And it's sitting up on a platform that has these flowers. So to me, there's a certain part of him that's still building something. So I want to offer this one. People say, would you remove that hostile part of the Aries? Would you remove the part of you that's the warrior? No, I don't want to lose that at all. But do I want to use it constructively? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's where I sit right now. All right, here we go. Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Archangel Gabriel. The second is Teresa. The third is Opal. And the final is Vanessa. All right. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the Trust card. Teresa's being joined by the Abundance cow. Opal's being joined by the Birth and the Rebirth card. And Vanessa's being joined by the Death card. I don't think that Death card is negative at all. I want to offer it this way. And I kind of want to say to my Aries moon, I think oftentimes astrologers pigeonhole things. So if you have a moon, they're going to say, oh, you're an angry moon, you're a hostile moon, you're a loner a little bit. And all of those things may be true. But I think you're an altruistic moon, Aries. I think that there is a part of you that's willing to fight for people who won't fight for themselves. And sometimes in their need to be accepted by others, you will get lambasted. You'll be the scapegoat for something. So this is where I want to go, because I think Aries, with Chiron moving through your sign, I think it gives you a real opportunity to start to own who you are in all your colors. If you want to be bright red, fiery one day, fabulous, but make it a choice, not a reaction. Because here is Archangel Gabriel and the trust card. And right now, I feel like this is about trusting your own communication. I feel like this is about trusting an inner knowing about the world and where you've evolved and what you can do if you want to, but you don't have to do it because you have a new version of things. And I feel like these flowers here are indicating a more pleasant experience, a more fruitful experience. So here in the opportunity, the obstacle is the abundance card, nourishment, asking and receiving. And then there's Teresa, which is about other people. It's about worry. It's about over concern of other people. And I want to offer this because most people think Aries isn't concerned enough about other people. And at the same time, Aries is very concerned. It is the general that takes his men into battle. He cares for his men, and he cares for the noble mission of which that they went into battle. So I think this is about Aries continuing to see that as you stand bravely for what is important to you, and you allow for that feeling of abundance that you get from not worrying or trying to convince anybody else of your viewpoint. Because Opal, being a child of God, is offering you a new birth, a new, this is the Pluto energy, because, Aries squares Capricorn. And if, like me, you're a late Aries rising, you've had Pluto squaring you all frickin' day long for years now. And I just think this is an opportunity for a rebirth to a whole new tribe of people or experiences that are more aligned to the truth of who you are versus pigeonholing you into an old space. Because I think when Vanessa shows up, this feels like the death of your fear. And I think that fear is about the self-talk that tells you that you're too much, you're too hostile, you're too angry, you move too quickly, you're too Martian, you're too this, you're too that. So now let's look at your ruling planet going through Gemini. This retrograde can be frustrating. Yes, it can be feeling like a holding back, but I think that happens most for the people who are kind of unconscious in their Martian energy. Now let's look at it as the pioneer who's going into uncharted territory. Now working with Saturn, because Saturn is making its conversation, the trine conversation to Mars. It's about, okay, so before you just start plowing down that trailway, let's look to see what your options are. And as you look to see your options, you have more faith in yourself, and knowing that if you have to get busy or get big or get intentional about something where others may be meek, you trust it's coming from a hero's energy, not necessarily you just being hostile and fearful. I think there's a big change for Aries. And there we go. The deciphering between what you know is true for you and what the crowd will say. Because this is what I feel like is going on here with Aries. There's something about seeing a version of yourself moving forward that others may not see right now. And rather than trying to convince them of whatever this new version of you is or who you are or what you are, because people could be invalidating you. People could be saying, well, I thought you were valuable at one point, but I don't anymore. It doesn't matter. I feel like this is an opportunity for you to be a little bit, I want to say, Lucy, I think you're right. Cocky doesn't really feel confident to me. It feels boastful. It feels like I'm unsure. My confidence is quiet. And that's what I think is going on here. And Aries having an opportunity to just decipher and show up as they want to be, not feeling forced to act on something or react to something. All right. Let's go on to our Taurus, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. And I would be interested to see how people with 13, 12, 11 degree, up to about 15 degree, 16, 17, 18 degree Taurus sun, moon, ascendant. How are you feeling with this Uranus hanging around? How fun is this for you? And the north node just, I don't know how the nodes, when I go through my, I take my Luna astrology and I look at the week's transits and I kind of do the day ahead. And I don't know how the cycle works. I've got to check it out. But the nodes, they retrograde forward for like a second, like a few days, and then they move back. And I haven't figured out the pattern yet. But boy, that right now hanging out at that 13 degrees is just. All right, Taurus. Aha. The Magician. As above, so below. What that means is your thoughts are things. And it doesn't matter whether you have good thoughts or bad thoughts. Everything it's infinity. You'll just go back. There's no getting it done. It's never over. There's no destination. It is one continuous journey where you have all the things that you need on the physical plane in order to manifest what it is you want. And this Uranus transit could very well be accentuating this energy, because Taurus is a fixed sign and Taurus wants to know it comes. Let me back up. Taurus is the second house. And naturally, this is where the soul has gone from incarnating and discovering its physical body to discovering what the physical body can do in the way of its skills. And those skills are either supported or sometimes tanked by our family and our family upbringing and how they perceive possibilities. So I think this is where Taurus is going through this Uranian energy that's saying, will you allow yourself to go where no Taurus has gone before, to believe in things that you cannot see, and yet when you put an intention for them, you start to bring them into your physical world? Because this particular card, you can see the Magician has this snake around his waist, and the waist is sort of the energy between the power center chakra and my wants and desires of the sacral chakra. And so there's an opportunity to shed a new skin as I realize to be gentle with myself as I slowly start to really use the tools of my trade. If you notice, the 4 elements are on the table here. And this crystal he's holding feels like it's like a selenite crystal that helps him stand in an energy that is like a conduit. And so he knows it's here. And once I harness here, then I use these in the physical experience. Inspiration, my thoughts, my emotions, and then bring it into the physical. All right. Here we go, Taurus, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I guess you can't, my Christmas tree, you can't really see it. I put the lights on. Okay. You know what I love is when I watch these science shows and watch History Channel, and I watch I'm a little acorn on the Curse of Oak Island, and they've been doing a lot of discovery of the Knights Templars. They've been going to Portugal, and there's all these interesting elements. Even on that, the Skinwalker Ranch, there's all these elements where like selenite and other minerals are used in ways that are very futuristic. Like, I don't know, it's super fascinating to me. Okay, yeah, my tiny one, there's my big one and my little Santa Claus. I've got more to put out, but it was a hard week for me. Okay, the Magician is being joined by Daniel. This is for Taurus. Adriana is being joined by joining as well. Isaiah's in the Angel's Advice, and Maya is in the final position. Daniel is being joined by Merlin. Adriana is being joined by the Burden card. Isaiah is being joined by the Cow. And Maya is being joined by the Bee card. Okay, So I think that this very much plays to what I said earlier, in the sense that the magician is really indicating a very strong energy this week for Taurus to be able to be aware and more cognizant of their thoughts or things. This is not a trying to harness your thoughts in a crazy way, like, oh my God, I had a negative thought. No, no, no. It's just an awareness that if you look at the magician, we see this lighter yellow that brings a sense of, aha, okay, I got this. Because Merlin is offering justice, balance, and alchemy. And Daniel, while he talks about marriage, he talks about history more importantly, the history of my relationships, in love. And what does Taurus represent? My family history. So there's an opportunity for you to see, Taurus, that some of your fixed energy may be imprinted from people who didn't mean to hurt you, or didn't mean to tank you, or didn't mean to give you sort of scarcity issues. But as you see that, hey, wait, maybe these aren't really mine. Maybe these are things that I'm imprinted by through this experience. And part of my soul's journey is to rise above that, or to be liberated from it, because that's what Uranus is doing. And that's what the North Node is doing. And there they are, hovering for so long together. It's like, come on already, people. Why are these points anchoring in? I think they're anchoring in so that the human has a chance to really be like, okay, where's my participation in this? Because I think that Taurus has trouble being led. It's like, no, I mean, let me tell you something. I'm a Taurus moon, and in Placidus, my Taurus is such a dominant energy in my first house. So when I have an intuitive hit, and I'll tell you something else, when I do intuitive work and then somebody tries to blow smoke up my butt and tell me I don't know what I know, I'm so incredibly insulted. I will tell you, like, forget about it. So Adriana is leading you. And this may be a burden for you right now, because this isn't about you taking action. This is about you backing up and saying, is my history, am I dragging my history back into my future, back into my present? Because this is how it's always been. And I'm not saying it hasn't always been that way. But if you want something to be different in the future, that ability to start to imagine the future differently is imperative, because Spirit is saying, Taurus, it's time to give birth to new ideas and new things. And there's the abundance card, where there's plenty of food, there's plenty of material resources, and there's abundance coming. And if any animal would represent the cow, this is the bull as well. This is a female version, but still. So it's time for you to give life to new ideas. And kind of, I even like the position of this cow with the head down. There's a surrendering in some ways instead of being up. Now, that's the bull. This is a cow. It says right there, it's a cow. And then we have Maya, because Maya is about schooling and education. And Taurus, you're being energy. What do I believe? What is the story I tell myself? What is the story that has been imprinted upon me? And then what is a new potential story I could tell? And that's where we go back to the magician. And if you're having trouble getting out of your story, then that's where you engage Spirit and you say, you know what? I'm having trouble getting out of my story. Please help me anchor into the physical experience something that helps me get momentum towards the new story, or towards the new experience. Help me make diamonds out of the coal of my life, because that's what alchemy is on some level. All right. Let's go on to our Geminis, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Mars soldiering through your home for months and months and months. Oh my goodness. I really kind of feel like some of the headlines I see are so Mars and Gemini. People are so, those kids in Idaho, I don't know what happened there, but that's so weird and random and so Martian, It's just very, and I want to offer it this way, because I've been over the holiday, I had some anxiety that I can't quite explain. I'm not really an anxious person by nature. And I can only associate it with one other period of time in my life when I felt this anxious for reasons I couldn't identify. And this was September 2001. if you get my drift. Because I'm not saying something like that is going to happen, but I do want people to be mindful. We've seen things happening in Walmart. We've seen things happening in clubs. And I feel this is a time not to be afraid, but to be intuitive. And if you got a weird booger up your butt, I'm sorry to say it that way, or you got a funny feeling in your belly, honor it. Better be safe than sorry. There's a lot of unconscious energy right now. So in general, I think this is a real discernment is key. And when you get intuitive feelings, sometimes they're not yours, but the human will naturally go looking into what's going on in my world. And what you're really feeling is a ripple effect. So exactly. So if people are being, if you feel a little funkalicious, just err on the side of caution. Don't try to fix something. Don't engage in lower energies, because that other person could be on the edge of their sanity, literally. All right. Let's see what our tarot card is for Gemini. This is interesting. This is about work, teamwork. This represents Capricorn, Mars and Capricorn energy. So there's going to be something going on with your teammates, your workmates. Let's see where we're going with this, because there's also a feeling of sometimes people think that this is an apprenticeship card. I don't quite see it that way. I feel like this person that's actually doing the etching is a master, and he's getting direction from the representative from the court and the representative from the church in order to create this I don't know what to call it. It could be an art piece. It could be a structure. The Knights Templars documented much of the experiences they had through etchings in the walls that were almost like a form of history telling. So Gemini, I want to offer it this way, because I do think that this week in particular, potentially, we saw Mars making a trine to Gemini. There's an opportunity here for you to be more conscious, and then using that trine to Saturn as a way to foster new structures in a way that's more aligned to what you want. I don't know quite how to say it. It feels almost like this is a good opportunity. Mars is at 20 degrees right now in Gemini. So this is, to me, that Scorpio degree of transformation. So let's offer it this way. Maybe what I'm sensing for you is that you are starting to see the psychology of your teammates, and rather than being almost dealing with them on a more psychological level. For instance, if you know somebody is a bit of a know-it-all, you may want to praise them before you criticize them, or you want to, I don't know, I feel like there's something about working with other people and then using what you have experienced with them, not as a weapon against them, but as a way to foster cooperation. Here, I'll give you an example. I have had a street sign, Gemini. It was road work, and there's no road work on my street, but it was like end road work here. And every time there was a storm, it would blow like metal siding all night long like this. And I would literally have no sleep. So my Aries rising was like, oh my God, they got to get rid of this thing. And then I saw a workman, and I had the wherewithal to be like a little frail girl and saying and explaining my story from a place of trying to enroll him to help me versus showing him my frustration and anger about what I experienced in the middle of the night. In doing so, he helped me, and the sign was removed. So this is about sort of, I think, being a little bit aware and not letting an old story dictate how you show up, but rather your evolved self can create cooperation from others. Let's see. Our first angel is Archangel Uriel, frustration. There's Vanessa, faith or fear. There's Seraphina, offering a happy change. And there's Teresa, which is about worrying about everybody else but yourself. Sometimes I don't know if it's like when you say keep your trap shut, I totally get it, because it's like I've got to hold myself from saying, but as you start to see it as a strategic move versus being clipped or being repressed, I think you'll start to see new things happen. So here's Archangel Uriel being joined by the Joy card. Vanessa's being joined by the Truth card. Seraphina's being joined by the Baird. And Teresa's being joined by the Owl. I'm going to offer this for my Geminis because I don't think that anything's going to come to a conclusion this week, but I think Mars transiting through your sign of teammates, workmates, um, uh, uh, your communities, your neighborhoods. This last week, okay, on Friday, my neighbor, I don't think she's home, but I think she had relatives coming to use her apartment, and they had 3 children. And they were loud, like they were on a ranch by themselves. They were pounding on things. The kids were running up and down literally yesterday I was doing a reading and I had to go outside and say, guys, So this is where I'm going with this, because I feel as if this is a moment for my Geminis to really harness Mars, and now you're the hero. And the hero is not about backing down and keeping your mouth shut, but looking about if someone walked up to me and expressed themselves the way I want to express myself in frustration, would it work? No, probably not. So now this is about actually finding joy in your own ability to process your frustration and anger in a constructive way. Because here's Vanessa saying, are you going to base your decisions on what you know about yourself, on fear that people will only see you a certain way all the time? Or is there something different going on? Because there's the Truth card. And I feel sometimes that if you've got a reputation, like I have had a reputation for being a hothead. So when people witness me not being a hothead, they give me kudos for it. Okay. So it's almost like, because there's something about overcoming your history or how you've shown up or how people have perceived you that actually makes things better. So when you had an opportunity to be like, oh, that person didn't do it right, or you're an asshole on the road, or you're a table for one person. I mean, right now it's very polarizing. So there will be people that will see the red light and blow right through it. It's not your job to go chase them down and tell them they're a jerk. Leave it alone. Because I think you're finding the wisdom of action here. Teresa's about worry and sometimes, but it's also about taking care of other people, about like worrying more about them. And here's the Owl. And the Owl's about discernment. And we saw somebody write that up in the comments, discernment. And I think that's a beautiful opportunity. So I want to say this for my Geminis. Gemini of the mercurial signs rules persuasive speech. So I think that there's an opportunity for you to express yourself in this coming week about a potentially disruptive thing, but you do it in such a way that actually appears for you to be a bigger teammate. I feel like you can start to rewrite stories that people have expected, like, oh, she's going to react this way, or he's going to say this, and you kind of throw them for a loop a little bit, because as you become more evolved, then you become more effectual in your communication, which then may not make the outcome appear right away, but it certainly starts to recalibrate it. So that's what I want to say. I think it's super powerful, and I think we can expect this to be showing up as a bit of a theme. Mars is going to go all the way to 8 degrees, which is also a Scorpio degree, transformational. 8 is also an abundant number, and we know Scorpio rules billions and billions of dollars. And then as Mars moves back through Gemini, I think you can take some of the mastery you've learned over this first 2 cycles and implement it in a way that shifts your experience in a thing you can see. Okay, let's go on to Cancer, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Cancer, here we go. Your tarot card is the Devil. Now, I want to tell you, don't freak out about this card. It represents the Capricorn energy, which has been opposing Cancer. We know that. But if you look very closely, these characters have that chain around their neck, and they could easily take their hands and lift the chain off, even if it does seem burdensome and it seems heavy. So there's a certain part of this energy of the Devil that is basically asking you, are you living your life? Because devil backwards is lived. Or are you tethering yourself to something, Cancer, that you don't need to in a way that is, I feel like when I see the people naked, there's a vulnerability here. And, we see the abundance as represented on the female with her pomegranates as her tail. And then we see the spark of creation there on the gentleman's tail. So to me, this Cancer energy is really kind of, we'll see more detail, but there could be the potential that there's a way of thought or a way that you're perceiving something, or you're feeling repressed, or you're feeling held back. And it could be just a little shift in your perception about something. And rather than thinking it hasn't shown up, I don't see where it's coming from, there's no physical evidence, this is where you can go into that intuitive way and nurture yourself intuitively, thereby aligning yourself to allow spirit to bring in things that you've up until now maybe pushed out because you have not gone to that intuitive place. You've been in your head. Okay. Our first angel for our Cancers is Isaiah. It's time to give birth to new ideas, new situations, that you're being watched over and protected. Patience is about gathering information, and oftentimes it's about watching my own energy and observing it. And there's Bethany confirming right there. Are you nurturing yourself, Cancer? And this nurturing doesn't necessarily mean I'm getting my nails done, or I'm, making sure I eat right. This could be an intuitive. And I do think it is, because here we have Celeste. And this will talk about a new home or a new place of employment. But the first thing is a shift in your mind, because you can put the mind anywhere and it has a certain imprint on the way that it thinks. So if we don't start shifting there, we don't really shift the experience with any sustainability. But see, the good news is that, CJD, that you focus on the idea that you had the wherewithal not to let your silver tongue take over. That is what that opportunity, whatever it was, presented. And as we, as conscious co-creators, see that we're going to walk into disruptive energies, so we can very much make that choice. And then that choice becomes easier and easier and starts to change the dynamic. So here we go. Cancer, Isaiah is asking you to risk something different. And I'm going to say, of all the cardinal signs, I think it's the hardest for Cancer in some ways to shift, because they tend to think of all the pitfalls, that oh no kind of feeling. Will the tides come sweep me away? And here we see there's patience and the fear card joined together. Am I too focused on what I could lose versus what I could gain? Because Bethany is being joined by the ego card. And frankly, this is edging God out. It's almost as if I can't take care of me. I can't put me first. I can't let my wants and desires, because there's other things that are more important. And no, nobody is more important than you, because if you take care of you, then you teach others how to take care of themselves in a way that offers more exchange of energy versus a shutdown of energy. Celeste is being joined by the owl. All right, so this most definitely tells me it has something to do with the way Cancer is going maybe back and forth in a certain way of thought. Now let's go back to the idea that the devil is here and represents some sort of authority over you, a job, a government restriction, a lack of resources potentially, because we know Capricorn rules building material wealth. So here now, the first idea is to risk thinking, what if there is something bigger going on here? What if I were to perceive a solution, but it's only from the viewpoint of an ant walking along the sidewalk versus a hawk flying above? Because you could potentially, Cancer, be gripped in fear right now. If you're a late born Cancer and you have Pluto opposing you, you could have a really creepy feeling right now. Like, am I dying? Am I dying? Is everything going to fall apart? And I think this is super important for you to get grounded. Go out in nature, put your feet in the grass, have a salt bath, and give yourself an opportunity to really bring it down. Bring down that sense of, oh no, the sky is falling. I got to tell you, I on Thanksgiving was so flippin' anxious that I could not watch television. I couldn't for 2-3 days. The day before Thanksgiving, and the day after Thanksgiving, I felt so weird, and I had not felt like that since September 2001. And I I had trepidation. It's calmed down right now. I don't know why, but there was a part of me that was like, well, I'm not going to do anything because this is all feeling funky. Because what I think is going to happen is if you calm down, there's going to be something that reveals itself. And I think that there's going to be a little bit of you seeing where you have a pattern of thought, a pattern of vulnerability, a pattern of feeling like, uh-oh, something bad's going to happen. And then the wisdom of maybe not today. Maybe it's actually there's something bigger going on that I can't see. And now I get to really nurture my intuitive body and to set an intention for what I want to experience, and then call on God and the angels to reveal that I am safe in this physical experience. Give me an experience that supports my feeling of safety versus my feeling of vulnerability. There could be, for Cancer, there could be bills coming in, it's the end of the year. There could be something. I feel like when I go to that Capricorn thing, I'm going to something very material and something that feels daunting in some ways, and that I don't know how I'm going to handle it. So rather than focusing in on the worry, now I feel as if Spirit give me an opportunity to have my fears empower me by turning this particular situation over to you and then having you reveal something to me. Now, let me offer this to my Cancers. Your constant thought about where you're vulnerable is not serving you. So distract yourself. Do something that allows you to disconnect from the potential scary part. That's what I want to put. Not today, Satan. Exactly. I like that. Not today. So, because I feel as if there's very much an opportunity for Spirit to show you that you're being protected, but your worry in some ways may mask that because it's not big enough to whatever the sign is not giving you a conclusion. It's still giving you a bit of the journey here. That's why observing. Is fear gripping me, or am I having faith that we will rise above this, that there's something about this that's going to empower me? All right. Here we go on to our Leos. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our tarot card is the Queen of Wands, which is absolutely your sign. And this is the most, she's a passionate queen. She is inspired. She's very nurturing. And in many ways, she's very relaxed. In a way, the other queens aren't. There's a part of her, and I think maybe it's because she represents the fire signs, and Sagittarius and Aries being travelers, experiencing diversity, experiencing new situations where they're unfamiliar and yet very comfortable within that lack of familiarity. Because this is what I think is going on for my Leos right now. There's something where inspiration is coming. There feels like there's newness coming. Let's see where we're going. And I want to offer it this way because newness may not necessarily be new locations or new jobs or new, it very much, the fire signs are about the impetus of something. It's an inspiration. It isn't grounded into the earth just quite yet. So, and it's interesting to me too, when I see this black cat sitting in the front, it almost feels like she sits on a throne of lions, and yet she gets to focus in on just the small house cat right now. Just that little taming that little cat. And I don't mean taming the cat in the way that the cat is out of control, because that black cat, around Halloween, they say don't let a black cat walk across your path. There could be a little bit of a daunting here that you get to tame. Leo, our first angel is Isaiah. New ideas, new situations. You're being protected. There's Desiree about conditions. Shanti is about peace. And Archangel Raphael is about inspiration that brings a sense of healing. And healing to me is always a sense of balance, an understanding of what the challenge was that brought the benefit. Leo, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Isaiah is being joined by the trust card. Desiree is being joined by the horse. Shanti is being joined by the death card. And Archangel Raphael is being joined by the restriction card. Okay. So the first thing I would go with is that this definitely feels like it's an inspiration of some kind. It's an idea, and yet I'm going to have healthy boundaries about it. It feels very new to me. The cat in the front, the black cat, to me is expressing a trepidation or a fear that may be unnecessary. It doesn't feel like it's a big deal. And now my job is to allow myself the new inspirations. And the trust card doesn't feel like it's trusting outside. It's trusting a process. It's trusting either a process of creativity, a process of conception, a process of, let's look at Leo. Leo has Saturn opposing its sign in Aquarius. This will be, this could give a feeling that the outside world is opposing what you want to do. There's something about that. We know that Saturn represents repression or oppression, time, history. So there could very well be something about the platform of your belief, your healthy boundaries about your inspirations, because I see the horse as very Sagittarian to me. It feels like Desiree says conditions aren't favorable, and the horse is telling me that conditions are going to change, and in ways that feel foreign to me, in ways that could potentially be things I can't see right now. So if I'm trying to base my inspirations on what I can see, I'm going to be not giving myself a full opportunity, because Shanti, the angel of peace, is being offered, and there's a transformation coming. And I think that goes back to the idea that there's a waiting period. Let me offer it this way. I think that there's the potential that you have had some sort of inspiration about changing your life. You could either want to have children, want to have another baby, want to birth a business, an idea, a creative project. You could be starting a new romance, and that romance could feel like it's moving, and then there's a weird stall, and you could default back to an old story of what you've experienced, a repression, or you could sit back and say, Spirit's giving you an opportunity to observe something. Because I think that there is a healing being offered through restriction of some kind. So let me just say this for Leo. Leo rules romance. So let's just use romance as an example. Two people meet, and initially, oftentimes, they become very enamored with one another. And then after that initial period of time, and then life starts to come back in, right? We have our jobs, we have our obligations that were all in place before we met this person. And so what becomes every day calling me 15 times a day becomes one phone call or one text, or sometimes maybe I'm not getting that nighttime text. Are you, Leo, going to default back to everything is falling apart, Saturn's opposition? Or are you going to think that this is giving me an opportunity not only to see how the other party shows up, but how I process my own value, and whether I'm sitting on an old story of value or lack of value? That's what I'm thinking. So, and I want to offer this because Lucy Rose just said, I like things to be reciprocal, but sometimes reciprocal is giving grace to somebody as they adjust to new energy within their life. And they're torn sometimes between what has been and what is new. So I really think that for my Leos this week, I want to offer you an opportunity to continue to re-engage yourself in the inspirations that are coming to you, not necessarily looking to see that those inspirations are starting to gain roots. Let's let for the nurturing process, because initially for things to sprout, there's a tender period of you don't want to overwater, you don't want to underwater. You want to allow the process that seed knows what to do to naturally take hold. All right, let's go on to our Virgos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. That could be a very, it is what it is, can sound very apathetic to the normal human, and yet it's very divine in its surrendering to I want to say a weather, a period of weather, whether it's stormy or cloudy or windy, energetically for you. Because sometimes by allowing that it is what it is, rather than being defeated or giving up on it, there's an opportunity for spirit to bring an inspiration that then is a more stronger footed pathway for you to experience what you want to experience. All right. Virgo, we pull the Hermit, which is a Virgonian energy to it, actually, in my tarot and astrology book. But traditionally, we think of this as Saturn. We think of this as a slowdown, as an opportunity to reflect, to spend time sort of alone, and allowing for illumination to come. If we look at this character, we don't see him staring into the lamp, but using that lamp to have more sure footing on a slippery surface. So let's see what we're talking about here for our Virgo, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. If you're a late-born Virgo, you could have an opposition to the Neptune energy that's going on, which could really mean that where you're normally predisposed, let's get it done, let's get the work done, I'm expected, this opportunity to really sit down and reflect on if this is fueling my soul, fueling my spirit. Virgo, our first angel is Serena, the angel of abundance. The second is Isaiah. Isaiah's been showing up all day. The third is Azure, and the final is Opal. I think this has something to do with that Neptune opposition to Virgo right now. I think this is an opportunity to slow the bus up. And I don't mean not taking action. I mean redefining, reflecting if the actions you're taking are aligned to the truth of what you want to experience. Serena is being joined by the dog. Isaiah is being joined by the joy card. Azure is being joined by the hawk. And Opal is being joined by the transformational death card. For my Virgos right now, I really, truly believe that, Virgo is a sign of a lot of duty. We're dutiful to our employers, our employees. It is the house of slavery. It is the house of, I could be a slave to my health, my stress, the things that I process through my mind, my obligations, my duties, my sense of being a dependable person. And I think that the Hermit is really offering you an opportunity to slow your roll, Virgo, and decide if the things that you are, the actions, the thoughts, the creature comforts you give yourself are aligned to what you want to experience. And the first thing I want to say right now is today is the day. Not someday, today is the day to allow yourself to make yourself a priority. Because when I see Serena's all about money, but she's about relaxing, about a certain amount of trust. And I think this is about being loyal to yourself and to your peace of mind right now. I don't really think of Virgo as struggling with money per se. I believe that they work hard and naturally know how to make sure they've planned their money out. There's always people that don't do that, but by nature, Virgo's very smart that way. That's the way I want to put it. So now I feel like maybe this reflection from the Hermit is, do I still worry about stuff that I no longer need to worry about? Am I operating on a sense of scarcity that doesn't really exist? Because here is the Joy card and Isaiah saying it's time to give life to new ideas. And this is a protection card as well. Your joy is being protected. The human experience is always going to have challenges. It is designed that way because the soul cannot experience its achievement, its power, its enthusiasm for creation without this human experience that is fraught with fear and doubt and trepidation. So as you keep your desired outcome will happen. The signs and the omens are here. Now it's about being serene, about allowing yourself to process the old part of you, the Saturnian part of you that's not easy to shake, because this part of the journey is the death of an adult and the life of a child of God. And a child of God is a powerful co-creator, a powerful energy that puts a mercurial intention, a thought into the universe, and then nurtures that thought and allows that thought, the air and the room to grow in a way that will then bring bounty. So I feel as if I even want to kind of go back to the idea that there's something cooperative about the idea that even though we don't have Mars in Virgo right now, the mercurial dynamic of what Gemini and Virgo represent has a theme to it. And there's a bit of an energy feeling that you're being tasked as a Virgo to really assess, are my thoughts working for me, or am I still on a hamster wheel of somebody else's agenda? Do I feel something I'm enslaved to? And is all of that energy really supporting the future me, or an old part of my soul's experience where I give up me for something else? Because I think it's time to put yourself in God's hands, and not in a place that's taking your eyes off the wheel, but rather a trusting that you've got enough momentum, that you have been working hard, that you have been aligning, and now you get to experience the bounty and the benefit of that. The Hermit is a sage. He's a wise creature, and he offers much when we slow down and allow there to be illumination. All right, let's go on to our Libras, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. You know, the term unconditional love, I think, by humans is meaning that the conditions are always favorable. And I think that the powerful co-creator sees that conditions may not always be favorable, but I can choose to look at a favorable portion within this disruption. That to me is a powerful co-creator. This is where we start to move through the human experience with more grace and with more prowess. And so it becomes a strong set and an intention that regardless of the conditions, I will continue to pursue this line of I want this experience. I want to manifest this. And therefore, we start to remove those conditions that get in the way. Okay, Libra. We have the Emperor and the Aries energy here. Fire, pioneering spirit, bravery, and sense of independence. Now, Libra, we know that on the zodiac wheel, Aries is your teammate in balance. So let's see where we're going with this. Libra, our first angel is Archangel Gabriel. The second is Azure. The third is Isabella. And the final is Oceana. I don't know if you guys also listen to Molly McCord. She's an intuitive astrologer here on YouTube. And I recently bought her book, Awakening Astrology. And she concentrates on the 5 personal planets. And when she talked about Mars in Libra, it really resonated with me because it was decisive action. It was not an angry, edgy, argumentative at all. It was actually very balanced and decisive and brave. And I feel like the Emperor may be the Aries energy that is defining a bravery for you, and an opportunity to see that as you're brave about your own desires, you're also being actually more cooperative with others. Meaning, that passive aggressive side of Libra, that like I'm always creating harmony, I'm always compromising, can be a real tee up for a lot of discontent and a little bit of lone wolf energy, a little bit of being responsible for your own feelings versus looking out to others to be cooperative with you, could be the very thing that helps you feel more balanced. So here we have balance in Merlin and thought. So I really think that there's a little bit of Libra that gets to take on the Emperor's energy of being the master of my own willingness to have an individual part of myself within my partnerships, within my harmony, within my creation of diplomacy. Because Azure is saying your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith. And there's the truth card. All right, Libra. Isabella is being joined by the wealth card. That's harmonious wealth. And in the final outcome, we have Oceana and the love card. All right. So this is what I want to say. When it comes to Cancer and Libra, there's a fine line of loving others more than we love ourselves. And God bless the other people that feel loved by you, because that's great, but it isn't good for you. And it isn't good for long-term love in the situation. Because I do think for Libra, this is a bit of a pioneering spirit. This is owning yourself. This is putting yourself as a priority. This is being taking the reins of your life without letting go of those that you love. Because here, this is about thought. It's about my thoughts. It's about my sense of confidence. It's about my expression. Merlin represents balance, alchemy, and justice. What does Libra represent? Justice. Is there real balance and is there fairness if the object of our affection, the object of our partnership, the object of our diplomacy, we are giving up too much of ourselves in order to do that? Because the truth is, you matter. The truth is, your wants and desires matter. The restaurant you want to go to, the people you want to have to your home, not just always deferring. Because here, yes, the timing is right for this new venture, and there comes the harmonious wealth. And that new venture is a sense of independence. Because there's Oceana and there is the love card. And I want to offer it this way, because each and every one of the zodiac signs out of balance makes love difficult, makes feeling love difficult, makes wanting to love others. When there's a lot of expectation, when someone gives too much to me, like I'll tell you, when I first started my work, I didn't like it when people would bring me gifts all the time. Like, what do you want from me? Why are you bringing me gifts? Don't bring me gifts. It just felt weird. Like I had to give back to them, or there was something expected from me. And maybe that's my Libra. I don't know. But I think that this offers emotional trust and balance and exchange of love in a more balanced way. I recently had somebody who's been slowly disengaging from me. And that's fine. People are allowed to mosey on their life path. But there's also this weird thing, like where they want permission from me to hurt my feelings. Someone who started bringing me gifts, started the Christmas exchange and the birthday exchange. And, I'm not really a gift person. I'm an integrity person. And then they said, you know what? I don't want to do gifts anymore. I don't want to buy you a gift anymore. And you know what? I didn't care about the gift. What I heard is, I don't care about you anymore. And so I don't want to make that effort. Libra, you got to trust your emotional body and move towards love. You need to be more independent and more deciphering. Don't let people give you lip service anymore and you hope that they're going to change their mind or they're going to show up. And if you're good enough, you'll deserve their love. Don't do that anymore. Stop it. Love on yourself. Trust your intuition and claim the truth of your value. I will always take the quality of a human being's integrity and their intention over lip service, and I can feel the difference. It surprises me too on holidays when some of my clients text me and wish me a happy Thanksgiving, and then I get those people who tell me they didn't have time to text because they were so busy. That's not really true most of the time. So am I going to act loving towards myself and call myself out and say, you know what, if they don't have time to send a text, maybe I don't have time to worry or time to make them a priority, because it takes no time. We all know that everybody sits with their cell phone glued to their hand. And if they want to reach out to you, they will. And if they don't want to, they'll make an excuse. Libra, stop listening to excuses. Start trusting that you are valuable just because you breathe, because you bring love and harmony and beauty to this world. Show a sense of independence from others and how they're showing up for you, because the truth is you'll get more love at the end of the day than you ever might have felt in that cheesy BS of somebody else blowing smoke up your skirt. Because yes, it's time for you to feel your value and for you to claim your value, and it will only come from you and your emotional body. And when I say your emotional body, it's that part of you that says, you know what, I am a cooperative person, and I do try to be fair. And if somebody ain't showing up like that, not my problem, not my monkey, not my circus. And I'm going to start realigning my thoughts. People will make the time when they want to make time. And then they will make every excuse in the world and throw their crap at your feet. And when you're an intuitive person, you can smell it coming. And so it's double insulting. All right. Our final sign is Scorpio. Scorpio. Look what you got here. The Empress. Now we just had the Emperor and now we have the Empress. This is so beautiful. This to me is really taking your value, what you know, and starting to apply for you. I want to say this is what it feels like to me. The minute I saw it, I felt like this was Venus wanting to love on me. Venus wanting to say, oh, Scorpio, you've worked so hard with the South Node transiting your sign, and you have been working so hard to look at the deeper levels of your own psychology, your own ability to create. And now I think this is time to start to really capitalize on it. Let's see. Because part of the capitalizing on it is being egoless to other people's opinion of your agenda and what makes you happy. Our first angel for our Scorpios is Archangel Raphael, offering an epiphany. Then we have Crystal. Have faith and hope, there's more on the horizon. Akasha, the teacher. And then Mystique. I'm always kind of a fan of the more, I'll tell you right now, Saturn's sitting on my Chiron, and it is not fun. I'm not enjoying the experience, but I am more than willing to look and see where Saturn is bringing up an old story for me. And my Chiron is in Aquarius, which is the masses. It's this work I'm doing on YouTube. And I am bringing up old historic soul memories of being alienated or being exiled because I have different ideas and different ways of thinking. I believe there is an opportunity for this to be reconciled, to understand the ebb and flow of differing opinions. And so to me, what I'm trying to say for Scorpio is I think that Venus has offered you a deep psychology into how you love. The Empress is offering you a deep psychology into how you see bounty. And I think that Archangel Raphael is offering some sort of epiphany about what you want. And I think that is attached to letting go of some of your fears and looking. I want to offer it this way. I never think you can really let go of your fears. What I think is we get perspective. As we walk through our fears, sometimes we feel empowered. Oh my God, I didn't know I could do that. Oh my God, I didn't know I could create such bounty for myself. One of the shadow sides of Scorpio is giving up your power. It can be overly dominant, or it can be actually really submissive in a way that is abusive to the self. So Crystal is saying, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon, because in some respects that this goblin right now is the south node going through Scorpio, asking you deeper levels of your own psychological makeup that may be either preventing you from being this empress, or on some level, if you're being an empress on a house built of sand, because Akasha is the teacher, and the teacher is here offering a reconciliation of an experience. So if for some reason you have felt oppressed, or you have been loving, I kind of want to put it this way, because Scorpio rules sex, it rules other people's money, and it could be your investment money and other people moving it around. Venus rules money. Somewhere here, there's a claiming of Scorpio to claim themselves as the empress, to start to make choices, decisions, moves based on how you're going to feel empowered for yourself. And I think that there's going to be some sort of realization that part of this journey is to not try to hold on to what was while I'm trying to move forward. It's really hard to move forward when you leave one foot in the past. And that might be where this letting go card is. Previous fears. There's a lot of fears attached to the sign of Scorpio. It rules death and rebirth. It rules on some level the ending of the physical experience, which changes who we are. A traumatic crisis happens here. This isn't offering you liberation from that traumatic crisis. It's offering you an opportunity to see that maybe losing something that I thought I wanted is going to give me something I wanted so much more. And it's going to teach me on a soul level that I might have been giving my power away. I might not be acting like the Empress. Okay, this is it. Mystique says, keep charging ahead. Don't take no for an answer. Expect miraculous solutions. And there is the love card. I have a client who has her sun is Scorpio and her rising is Scorpio. And her sun is in the 12th house of Scorpio. So as I'm looking at it in Placidus, you're seeing first and 12th house. And I recall her saying, I just want to get out of the text part of this relationship and move into a physical part of the relationship. And I started to think to myself, you need to pay attention to how long you've been in a texting relationship, because that is setting a tone. And so inadvertently, this very sexy, very sensuous woman had been giving all of that up to someone who wasn't able to reciprocate that. And the fixed part of that Scorpio energy wanted to keep digging in and digging in. And there comes a point when we have to say, do I want to be happy, or do I want to be right about this situation? Because that's what I think is coming up for Scorpio. Do you want to really be happy, or do you want to be right about something? Do you want to conquer it? Do you want to overpower it? Do you want to... I think sometimes in the human experience, when we feel rejection, or we feel loss, or we feel something's slipping through our fingers, we don't look at the quality of the situation anymore. We just try to hold on to it and try to hold on to it. And I think that Spirit is saying to Scorpio, let go of what is not showing up as love. Be egoless in that. So as a Libra sun, no personal, well, I have Mercury in Scorpio. I think right now I'm being charged to be egoless to the transition of that South Node. And if I truly want to feel like the Empress and the co-creator and powerful in my life, do I hold on to everything? Or do I sometimes see when something moves out, it opens space for something much bigger to show up? That's what's being offered to Scorpio. It isn't easy. None of this is easy. But nobody said it would be easy. They said it would be rewarding. They said it would offer bounty and empowerment. And we hear those words and we think they're lofty and they're fun, but we don't realize the journey of the caterpillar is one of death, literally eating itself alive, producing enzymes within its own body that causes disintegration and yet leaves the skeleton of the previous incarnation as it becomes the butterfly. This is what Scorpio represents. So this part of you always willing to reach for the bigger story is going to be super powerful as you go through this transformation. And to keep your eye on the prize of, am I feeling valued? Am I feeling loved? Am I feeling supported at the core of my being as I transform endlessly over and over again through this physical experience? All right. That's it for this week, guys. I'm hoping to have a more productive week. I got some ideas for some videos, so please like, subscribe, share. I need all you out there in YouTube land. I'm only focusing here. I am no longer on Instagram. I am no longer on Facebook. I just decided to hone in and stay focused for a while on this platform because I was finding it quite exhausting to try to be something I'm not. Mercury sitting on, the South Node sitting on my Mercury. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. I want to thank Lucy Rose and Small Wildflowers again. Always my team. Small, you mean the world to me. You're large in my world. You're a large, big flower to me. There's nothing small, and I'll take the wild. I like the wild part of you, but you're big and you're blossoming to me. So I just want y'all to know I love you. I appreciate you. Lucy, I want to thank you, Lucy Rose, for picking up when Juan left and being so supportive of Small so that she can have some relaxation time on her weekends. I want everybody to have a great week. And again, look for some content. I'm going to be doing year end. Hopefully I'm going to get December done this week. I'm going to get the new moon done, or I'm sorry, the full moon in Gemini. And then I'm working on trying to do sort of year recaps for each sign. That's something new for me. So I'm having to do a lot of research there, but bear with me. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your likes. I appreciate your comments and everything. Peace out, everybody. See you next week.